great power, there must also come great responsibility. This is Spider-Man, the beginning, otherwise known as Great Power. This is a synopsis for this epic collection, and if you like this, I'll be doing every Spider-Man issue from 62 to present day. And we're starting with this. It's the first batch of early stories collected in this collection, which you can find in some stores and maybe your comic book store. Depends if it's out of print or not. It's hard to find some of these epic collections. But let's get into it. This collection collects Amazing Spider-Man number 1 to 17, as well as Amazing Fantasy number 15, and Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1. So, like I said, this is a synopsis for all these comic books featured in this volume, and I'm going to showcase which ones they are, just to let you know if you want to find them any way you want. There's multiple ways of reading them, but first issue is obviously Amazing Fantasy number 15. The story begins, of course, with Peter Parker, who is a student of Midtown High. He's a high schooler, and technically, I think he's a senior, or maybe a bit retcon later on. But anyway, he is not very popular, but he's very good at his school studies. While he doesn't have good relationships, he does have a good relationship with his aunt and his uncle, known as May and Ben. His parents, they're dead. They don't really mention it, but yeah, he's been raised by his two elderly aunt and uncle. He tries to get with girls, but they don't care for him because he's a nerd, and they rather go with jocks like Flash Thompson, who is Peter Parker's regular bully. All of this angst makes him a very angsty teen, obviously, and he doesn't really seem to care about much other than his family as well as science. Speaking of which, while visiting a science examination, a spark gets hit by a radioactive material, and it bites him, giving him strange powers. He finds that he can climb in walls and has super strength. So he decides that this would be a good idea to make some money off these new powers. He easily gets $100 for defeating this wrestler known as Crusher Hogan, and decides to go into show business as a costume character known as Spider-Man, as well as invent web shooters on the side. Yeah, he just kind of invents it on the side. The Spider-Man character becomes a sensation, and everything seems to be going good for him. After the show, this criminal runs by him as the cop chases after him, but he decides to let him go. Nobody's pushing him around anymore now that he has powers, and he's not going to do anything for anybody other than himself since everyone treated him so badly in his past. So that comes back to bite him, as it turns out his Uncle Ben was shot and murdered. Rather than allowing the police to get involved, he decides to go after him as Spider-Man himself. He easily catches up with the criminal, but then he realizes that the guy he let go earlier is the guy who killed his Uncle Ben. Peter blames himself for the death of his Uncle Ben since he was so selfish before. Even though he really didn't have to stop the criminal, he easily could have. He learns that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And yes, as everyone always says, Uncle Ben does not say that line. It's just the text box, but hey. Next issue is Amazing Spider-Man number 1, which is Spider-Man's first ongoing series. After finding the criminal who killed Uncle Ben, Peter Parker renounces Spider-Man since it caused nothing but trouble. Though his troubles get even worse since Uncle Ben died, the money's been running out since he was the main breadwinner, so he needs to find out how to help Aunt May. He thinks for a moment that maybe he should become a criminal because he could easily do it, and then thinks, that's a bad idea, I have to go back to showbiz. So Spider-Man does more performances to get money, but unfortunately for him, he decides that he's going to cash a check in with Spider-Man's name and not his own name because he doesn't want anyone to know his secret identity. But things get really bad when this guy decides to write an editorial about him. That man is none other than J. Jonah Jameson, a guy who does not like Spider-Man because of his antics and says he's a bad idea for youngsters to look up to, and that people should look up to his son, John Jameson, instead. Unfortunately for Peter, everyone seems to believe in that, and he can no longer get jobs in show business. To make the matter worse, his Aunt May has to sell off her old shit just to make money. I guess he's bored, so he decides to go look at the space examination, like where the hell they're doing here. The pilot of which is J. Jonah Jameson's son, John Jameson. Of course, it goes bad, so Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man and says, hey, maybe I can help, and maybe my reputation will be fixed. So he hijacks a plane in order to get closer to the space shuttle, but he luckily reactivates the parachute on the nozzle. Saving the day, Peter thinks that his reputation as Spider-Man can finally be fixed. But of course, J. Jonah Jameson spins this as Spider-Man being basically a jackass for sabotaging the whole mission and basically hijacking a plane that one time. That was not very good on him. And now there's a warrant for Spider-Man's arrest. Spider-Man thinks the next best idea to get some money is maybe joining the Fantastic Four. Maybe they're hopped up with dough. But he decides to sneak in and showcase his powers, which doesn't do well for him because they want to fight him. And even though there's 4 against 1, Spider-Man actually puts them in their place and beats them up pretty easy. Though, unfortunately for him, the Fantastic Four is a non-profit organization. He's like, well, this sucks. Meanwhile, this guy is impersonating people. He's the Chameleon, and he's like, Spider-Man, no one seems to like him, so I'll frame him because then no one will respect me. I'm a communist spy, by the way. So he does. He impersonates Spider-Man to frame him for a burglary, which is to steal, I think, U.S. state plans or whatever it is. He shoots a web gun, which is obviously not Spider-Man's forte, but whatever. But Spider-Man decides to track him down because he got framed by him. He's like, hey, I'm not going to let you frame me, you commie. And he puts up the web of the submarine and chases after their helicopter. So Spider-Man thinks he can finally clear his name, but the Chameleon sneakily gets away by disguising himself as a cop. And Spider-Man thinks he once again has failed, but luckily for him, he actually redently ripped his disguise off, revealing that one cop is not the cop, but the Chameleon. In ink, Spider-Man says, this is the worst day ever, I can't get anything right. But because of his little shindig with the Chameleon, some people think that maybe he isn't that bad. Next issue is Amazing Spider-Man number 2. A new villain in the town, the Vulture, Adrian Toomes, but I don't think they ever call him by that name. He's been stealing stuff and no one can get glimpses of him because he's so darn fast. J. Jonah Jameson wants pictures of the Vulture, but no one can get a good glimpse of him. So he sends out an editorial basically saying that, if someone gives me some pictures of the Vulture, I'll pay you some good dough. Peter then realizes that, hey, he can get easy advantage of Vulture using his fire powers. He can get close up to him more than anyone else can. He can make some money. So Spider-Man takes pictures of the Vulture up close, but he's too busy taking pictures and notices that the Vulture's seen him, and he decides to drown him. So it seems that Spider-Man's trapped in here because he's too wet to climb up to the side, but then he's like, wait, I can just jump up. Also, the Vulture isn't that clever, so now that he's got his pictures, Spider-Man realizes that he must be using magnetism to fly. Someone create this little device that should stop his flight. So Peter sells his photos to the man who hates his alter ego the most, and he gets a lot of money. So the streets of New York become heavily guarded as the Vulture is set to steal some precious jewelries. Oh yeah. And he sneaks up from underneath to steal the diamonds. Vulture thinks he's very slick, but Spider-Man catches up to him, and pretty quickly puts an end to Vulture's flight. So yeah, the Vulture isn't too much of a threat. He was fast, but Spider-Man easily defeated him. And not only that, he got some snazzy pictures to sell to Jameson. It seems that this money is enough to buy 1 year's worth of rent. Like, that must have been a big paycheck there. Things are looking up now that the money problems are over for now. And it seems even better for Peter as he gets to go to a lab of this guy here. But he has to go to this repair shop to get this guy's radio fixed for some reason. I don't know why the guy couldn't do it himself. This old man here is the Tinkerer, who's been fixing radios for free. Apparently he says it's good for business. But it turns out he's working with aliens. This is later retcon. These aren't actually aliens, but hey, for now they're aliens. Peter becomes suspicious of the radio since it's giving out weird signals that his spider sense picks up on. Looking inside, he sees some weird devices. He decides to go investigate the Tinkerer again. The Tinkerer has been working with aliens to get advice on the U.S. government and other things like that. And they seem to trap Spider-Man, but Spider-Man's like, if I can use my web with this little air hole here, I can disrupt their whole thing. The aliens run away as the building gets set on fire. And that seems to be all of it, the end of it, but it turns out the Tinkerer was wearing a mask the whole time, so he too could have been an alien. But since the aliens have left, and we won't see them for a while, Peter's like, as he says, well, whatever, that was weird. Next issue is issue number 3. Things are finally going well for Peter and Spider-Man, as Spider-Man defeats crooks, and they're pretty easy. As he says, I almost wish for a challenge. At that same time, Dr. Otto Octavius is conducting amazing research with his mechanical arms and radiation and all that sorts of mumbo-jumbo. Unfortunately for him, it doesn't go too well as it explodes on him, fusing him with his arms, as well as damaging his brain. So now he's kind of insane, and his arms are also connected to his brain as well, making him really powerful. So Spider-Man decides to go investigate on Dr. Octopus here, as he's now known as, seeing that he's now taking over the hospital and wants to conduct more crazy experiments with the hospital staff as his hostage. Though fortunately for Peter, Dr. Octopus is a lot more of a threat than his past villains, who are just a guy who disguises himself, a guy who flies a little bit, and an old man. Dr. Octopus is super strong and super smart, even though he is kind of insane. And he gives him the first ever beating of Spider-Man's life. Spider-Man's supposed to be the most powerful guy around, at least in New York, and now he's kind of a wuss now because he lost to Dr. Octopus, so he's like, man, I'm gonna just give up. Meanwhile, Dr. Octopus then goes to Atomic Research Center to continue more Jurassic experiments. So the military has to get involved and they say, you know what, we should get the Human Torch to do it for us. But if you don't know the Human Torch, because this is a Spider-Man video, not a Fantastic Four video, is that he has a limited amount of flame. And so he's like, well, I'm not going to do a press conference at the school because I need to wait for my flame to build up before I to fight him. And he gives a speech to say, never give up. And for some reason, this gets Peter to realize that maybe he should fight again. I do think it's kind of weird that of all Human Torch is the one giving Spider-Man a pep talk and, not his Uncle Ben's memory or anything like that. But Spider-Man decides to not give up and fight back against Dr. Octopus. So even though he learns some tricks, Dr. Octopus is still a formidable foe. His 4 arms are both fast and very strong. He learns to knock out 2 of his arms by sticking them together. And he eventually gets a good shot at his eyes, making it easier for him to get a good knockout on Dr. Octopus. And with one hit, he's down. Well, it only took one good hit to take him down because, even though he has super strong arms and he's super smart, he is a man after all. So Doc Ock's defeat and Spider-Man goes on to crawl another day. He also gives the Human Torch some thanks for giving him a nice pep talk. Next issue is issue number 4. Even though Spider-Man's been doing pretty well, he still has the fact that the whole town seems to not like him because of J. Jonah Jameson. And even these criminals who haven't committed a crime yet, but Spider-Man thinks they're going to, use that to their advantage and pretends that Spider-Man's attacking them for no reason. So yeah, these criminals get away by luck. But Spider-Man's like, hey, maybe I can defeat this criminal, but this guy ain't any criminal. This is Flint Marko, the Sandman. And while Sandman is actually not that smart, at least being on, he's actually pretty dumb, he can morph his body very much so, where he becomes hard as iron and as soft as sand. So it's very hard to fight somebody that's kind of hard to fight against their consistency. While fighting him, Spider-Man rips his mask and decides that it's the best idea just to run away. You see, Spider-Man doesn't want anyone to know his secret identity because it could ruin his whole life, as well as his relatives and friends, I guess. Actually, at this point, he doesn't have no friends. And Spider-Man's forced to sew his own mask together. Lucky for him, he gets a nice little news bulletin about the Sandman's origin. He was just a common crook who escaped from prison. And after getting stuck in a little atomic device testing center, he got blown up, and that somehow merges molecules of sand. Because he doesn't want Ant-Man to know he's Spider-Man, he pretends that he's cold, is why he's holding his chest like that, to hide his Spider-Man costume. So, unfortunately for him, instead of going back after Sandman, he just has to stay in home and pretend that he's sick. Though luckily the next day he's able to say that, hey, I got better. Also, Spider-Man puts web on Jameson's chair because, well, he hates him. And Peter's like, can you give me an advance because I can use some money? Jameson's like, fuck you, kid. Also, Peter's school life's been crappy since he can't go on dates with anybody, since he has to break it off for Spider-Man stuff, making Liz Allen not care for him, and making Flash make fun of Peter even more. Well, if Sam's been on the run from the police, he accidentally goes to the high school, and he's like, oh, there's a bunch of people in here. He then asks the principal to give him a diploma since he never graduated high school. I'm not joking. But luckily, since Peter Parker goes to the same high school, he dresses up as Spider-Man and beats the crap out of Sandman. And while Sandman proves to be a very tricky, dicky kind of type of villain, Spider-Man finds his one weakness. Vacuum cleaner. Not joking. He gets vacuumed up. Also, he's like, crap, I forgot to take pictures of the fight. So he just throws up sand in the air and pretends to punch it. And he's like, well, this should do the trick. So he gives Sandman to the police, and Jameson's like, get Spider-Man. But Spider-Man's like, nope, I'm running away. So Peter's like, hey, Liz, can you go on a date with me again? And she's like, no, you ditched me already. And then Flash makes fun of him. And then he's like, I'm going to fight you. And he's like, nope, I can't, because then people will know that I'm Spider-Man. So he just gives up. So once again, he questions whether he should be Spider-Man, since everyone says Spider-Man's some weird guy and that Jameson might be right about him. And he's like, nope, I gotta do it, because with great power comes great responsibility. Next issue is issue number 5. Jameson is once again making editorials about why Spider-Man is bad. But this time, he has a defender in the form of Flash Thompson. The man who hates Peter Parker is also the man who loves Spider-Man. In order for people not to get suspicious of him, Peter's like, well, I actually don't like Spider-Man too. Also, this guy's name is Dr. Doom. He's not that important to Spider-Man because he's a Fantastic Four villain. He's like, maybe I can get Spider-Man to join my side to fight the Fantastic Four because everyone seems to think he's a villain. So Dr. Doom uses a spider device to signal Spider-Man for his spider sense, and Spider-Man comes to see Dr. Doom. So Doom's like, join me to fight the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's like, no. Though, even though he says no, Doom has a lot of contingency plans against Spider-Man, so he has so many gadgets up his sleeve. And even Spider-Man's like, this guy's a little bit too much for me in hand, so I'm just gonna ditch out on this one for a bit. So Doom vows to catch Spider-Man again and use him as a trap for the Fantastic Four. So Peter goes once back again to the Daily Bugle to sell some pictures, where he meets Jameson's secretary, Betty Brant, who's also his same age, but she had to go to high school to be his receptionist for the lovely J. Jonah Jameson. And she sticks up for Spider-Man, and Peter's like, wow, I actually kind of like this girl. Meanwhile, Flash Thompson thinks it's a good idea to pull a prank on Peter by dressing him as Spider-Man. I don't know why, but he thinks this will be funny. Of course, that's not really a good idea for him, because it turns out that Dr. Doom has been tracking Spider-Man, so he thinks that this guy is Spider-Man, because he tracks Spider-Man to the same area, because Peter's in the same area. So he thinks the guy dressed up as Spider-Man is Spider-Man. It's convoluted, I know. When Peter realizes that Flash Thompson was captured by Dr. Doom, he's actually kind of happy, because, that's his number one bully. But then he's like, I guess I have to save him, because that's my duty. So Peter's like, I need to go out and save this asshole. But Aunt May's like, you can't go out tonight because it's dangerous. So Peter's like, let me break this light here so that Aunt May will have to go out and buy some light bulbs so I can sneak out. What a lovely kid. So Spider-Man fights Dr. Doom and all of his beat gadgets. And Dr. Doom leaves a little pussy once he sees the Fantastic Four. And Spider-Man's able to save Flash Thompson. Well, actually he doesn't. He just kind of runs away. And the next day, Flash talks about how he was brave against fighting Dr. Doom. Next issue is number 6. In the Florida Everglades, there's this guy called the Lizard. Some giant monster lizard who's been terrorizing the whole state. Because James is an asshole, he decides that, hey, Spider-Man should fight this guy all the way off in a different state. And Peter's like, you know what, maybe I should. So Peter's convinced Jameson to send him over to take pictures of the lizard, and maybe that Spider-Man will be there. Because that will give him a nice paycheck. But Jameson's like, I'm too cheap to do that. So Peter goes to the museum to study dinosaurs, because they're similar to lizards. Though, okay, makes a lot of sense. But these guys are trying to rob it, and they capture Liz Allen. But Spider-Man saves her, and compliments her eyes. So now Liz Allen has no interest in the Flash, because she thinks that Spider-Man is pretty hot. Not knowing that it's Peter Parker. Since Spider-Man really wants to go to Florida, he ties up Jameson and says, listen, you better send a photo person to take a picture of me and the lizard, because I'm going to fight him. So Jameson's like, yeah, I guess I'll send you to Florida, little kid. So he doesn't get sent by himself because Jameson goes along with him. What a nice plane ride that might have been. So even though Spider-Man doesn't have any reason to go to Florida, really, I guess he's really wanted to see Everglades up personal. I mean, the lizard, it's not really his responsibility. It's not like it's in New York, but whatever. The lizard fights him. And it turns out he's a lot of a threat because this guy is super strong. He decides to go see the scientist named Kurt Connors, who's all in the newspaper because he was known to be a scientist that studied lizards. But turns out that, shocker, he is the lizard. Dr. Kurt Connors had lost his arm during the war and decides that if I can make this little serum to make me have similar DNA to a lizard, I can grow my arm back like a lizard does. And at first, it worked. But unfortunately for him, he becomes a lizard monster. And the more he stays in this form, the more the stronger he becomes, and the less human he becomes as well. He becomes so far gone from his original state that he's even attacking his own family. So Spider-Man uses the equipment in his lab to make an anti-serum for the lizard. And once again, it's a fight the lizard on top of some castle here in the middle of the Everglades, I guess. The lizard has alligators, and alligators are pretty deadly. And while the lizard is a pretty tough villain, all he needs to do is get the potion in his mouth. And once he does, the lizard turns back to Dr. Kurt Connors. Connors vows to never become the lizard again and burns all his formula papers. And Peter's like, hey, I got pictures of the lizard, but instead of saying he took it, he said he bought it from somebody. And of course, Jameson's like, that's stupid, I'm gonna tear up these papers. You waste my time, Parker. So when Peter gets back, he's like, hey, let me see if I can go on a date with Liz. And Liz is like, I'm waiting for Spider-Man, so get off the line. Next issue is the main Spider-Man number 7. The Vulture is now in prison, but he uses some of these scrap piles to make new Vulture wings. And he flies out of the walls. I guess someone should have been watching the cell, huh? Peter finally hears about the Vulture's escape and decides that only Spider-Man can take care of that winged jack. And make sure to load up on extra web shooters. So the Vulture goes right back into stealing crap with a gun, by the way. Yeah, the Vulture has a gun. So Spider-Man's like, I'll use the same device that I used the Vulture before, and he'll go down. I'm going to take a nice picture of him while he does fall down. But it turns out the Vulture redesigned his wings to not have the same mechanism as before, so he learns to punch Spider-Man up from above. Since they're fighting so high up, Spider-Man falls and misses the ledge and breaks his arm. Yeah, Spider-Man can't fight the Vulture anymore because its arm's broken. To make matters more worse, he has to hide from his Aunt May when he comes in by clinging to the ceiling. And he makes up an excuse that his arm broke when he was tripping over a curb. Not too tough. Also, he gets bullied by Flash Thompson. He looks like he's about to break his nuts off again. Also, the Vulture's like, I need more money. And he's like, I think the Daily Bugle will have the most amount of money. So he goes there. Though, of course, if Peter's already there, he runs out and becomes Spider-Man to fight him. But he has to fight him with one arm. So Spider-Man and the Vulture fight around the Daily Bugle as he flies around all the stairs and all the papers. Eventually, the Vulture tries to escape out the window, where he tries once again to drop Spider-Man from a far height. So Spider-Man uses his webs to nullify Vulture's wings and makes a nice little parachute all the way down. Apparently, webs can make parachutes. I bet you didn't know that. As he's swinging down, Jameson yells at him and says, "You owe me a bunch of money for all the damage done in my office." And Spider-Man's like, "Fuck you, Jameson," and shoots a web at his face. So Peter goes back in the office to see how everyone's doing, and he flirts with Betty Brant, who doesn't like big, strong man and likes weaklings like Peter, even though he was technically fighting the Vulture the whole time, but she doesn't know that. The next issue is Amazing Spider-Man number 8. So, in Midtown High, this professor guy is like, look at this invention I made called a living brain. It's a super smart robot. And during the shindig, Flash breaks Peter's glasses after they fight each other, and they decide to do a one-on-one fight in the gym. Also, Peter doesn't wear glasses from now on. He doesn't really need them, actually. He just kept wearing them just because. So anyway, the scientist guy's like, you gotta ask this guy, this living brain thing, a question, even though it's not technically a brain, it's a robot. And they're like, we should figure out who Spider-Man is. So Peter types in the message because he's the only one that can do it, because I guess everyone else is kind of stupid. But he gets scared to see its showcase what it actually is. But luckily, it's in a code that he has to decipher. Apparently, he has to do it on his own terms. Kind of lazy machine, if you ask me. So later, Flash and Peter are gonna fight each other in the gym. Peter dodges all his moves, and then he decides that he has to give a nice hit on him, but he has to be not too tough. But he did it too much, and he gets knocked out. Meanwhile, these guys have been moving the living brain around. It's like, hey, we should steal this thing so we can rig the lottery. But since they're kind of idiots, they accidentally hit wrong buttons, and the thing goes on a rampage, because apparently this giant thing that's supposed to be a smart computer is also a machine that can cause destruction, if that makes any sense. So Peter knocks the Flash out, but everyone thinks it was a foul shot because he was looking away at the time. So, wah. So of course Spider-Man decides to tackle the living brain. But the living brain is smart. Well, he's not really that smart, actually. He just throws webs at him and he kind of just runs away. So after a little battle in the school, Spider-Man's able to deprogram the robot to go back to its normal state. Also, the guys who caused the problems in the first place get tripped by Flash Thompson accidentally. And Peter makes a rumor that Flash might be the actual real Spider-Man just to get him off his ass. There's also a bonus story where Spider-Man decides to invade Human Torch's party for no reason. He sends a bat in to make fun of the party for some reason. I don't really know why. And the Human Torch and Spider-Man fight for basically no reason. Spider-Man is an asshole for no reason in the story. Like, why is he even here? So the fight kind of ends when the rest of Fantastic Four is like, hey, Spider-Man, you better chill the fuck out. And then Spider-Man flirts with the Invisible Woman for a little bit, even though she's a lot older than him, but whatever. And that's the end of that weird side story. The next issue is Amazing Spider-Man number 9. The whole town thinks that Spider-Man is once again a menace, because instead of helping out crimes, he's been flying, swinging by, and ignoring pretty much everything. That's because Spider-Man's been rushing home to see his Aunt May, who's once, for the first time in the store in a long time, she'll be ill. Meanwhile, a guy who's dressed up in the most goofy costume, named Electro, is shooting electricity everywhere and causing lots of crime. While Aunt May's in the hospital, Betty Brant comes to visit, and Spider-Man and her bond over the fact that they are also kind of weird, I guess. So Spider-Man needs new pictures to sell because he needs money for hospital bills. This is America, after all. But unfortunately, it's raining, and it's hard to get photos in the rain. And Spider-Man has to dry out his Spider-Man costume. So Electro robs the bank here, and he can electrify people by electrifying the metal in their clothes, I guess. And Jameson's like, wait, Electro must be Spider-Man! So Peter's like, I need to prove that I'm not Electro and also get money for the pictures. So he takes a picture of Electro robbing a bank. And he tries to fight Electro, but when he touches him, he realizes that Electro is full of electricity. I mean, duh. And he gets shocked. He wakes up with Electro gone, and he's like, well, crap. Since I didn't beat him, I think I'll have to fake photos of me pretending to be Electro, just so I can get some money, because I need it for my aunt's hospital bill. So now the whole town that thinks that Spider-Man is truly a menace since he dressed up as Electro, even though it doesn't make any sense. Why would Spider-Man need electricity powers? Why would a Spider-Man have electricity powers? That doesn't make any sense. Electro laughs at this, realizing that I'm not Spider-Man, I'm Max Dillon, who I used to be this guy who was a cocky jackass who liked to do stuff only if I got a pay raise, including saving other people. And one day, on a high-rise, well, one of those electricity poles, where you call them, he gets struck by lightning, and that gives him electrical powers. And he decides that, because he's a jackass, he's going to rob banks with it. Electro's like, hey, I should get some people to help me out, so he goes to the prison and breaks people out. But a lot of the people are like, hey, let's run out the building, but they get knocked out with the police. Also, Betty's like, Peter, don't go take pictures of dangerous stuff, because I don't want you to die. But Peter's like, I have to make money, bitch. So Spider-Man goes to the prison to fight all the criminals. This also proves that, Spider-Man is not Electro, and Jameson's whole story was BS. So Spider-Man's got little new tricks up his sleeve, like he's got rubber gloves and shoes, so that he doesn't have to touch Electro, and he can punch him in the face. Also, Peter's like, maybe water will cool him down, because water and electricity just don't mix. And yeah, he was right. He takes Electro's mask to showcase that he is just some guy that doesn't know. So Jameson's really pissed off at Peter for selling him fake pics, but Peter's like, well, I'll give you these pics that prove that I have of Spider-Man fighting Electro here, so maybe that will change your mind. And he's like, well, I guess I'll buy him anyway. So Peter acts all angsty because Betty, he doesn't like the fact that Betty doesn't want him to go out. And that's because Betty has a tragic backstory of why she quit going to high school, but that she doesn't reveal just yet. But they decided that maybe we should get together again. Maybe. Next issue is Amazing Spider-Man number 10. There's a new gangster in town. He's the big man, and he's hired these three guys. They're the enforcers. A guy named Ox, Montana, and Fancy Dan. They're really not that great of characters, but hey, when they work together, they can get the job done. Also, Aunt May's still in the hospital, and it turns out that she needs a blood transfusion, and it just so happens that Peter's the same blood as her. But he's like, uh-oh, if my reactivity ruins her. But nope, nothing happens, and she is fine. Actually, I guess his blood saved her. Isn't that nice? So Aunt May goes on a vacation to Florida, I think. Is it Florida? Just to get some nice hot weather. Meanwhile, all the gangs have been taken over by the big man, using the enforcers to stop anybody who doesn't want to be joined. And Jameson's up to his usual stick. He's like, they must be in league with Spider-Man. And then this guy here, named Frederick Foswell, who we've never seen before, is like, is it a good idea to say that the same thing he did last issue? And he's like, well, whatever, just find evidence before I print something out. It also turns out the enforcers want Betty because she apparently owes them money for something that we're not aware of yet. Peter tries to intervene, but since he can't showcase that he's Spider-Man, he kind of has to let them tussle him around a bit. But of course, Betty gets upset that he wants to be involved with them, and she doesn't want him to get hurt, so she cries again. In order to find the enforcers and the big man, Spider-Man has to get a criminal to convince him where they are. In order to do this, he has to play up his Batman, I guess, esque stuff and scare him by making a fake giant spider. So Spider-Man fights the enforcers, but they actually turn out to be quite a bit for him, mostly because of his blood transfusion. He still isn't up to his full strength, so he's like, you know what, I'm gonna ditch you guys. And while Jameson might be suspicious that Spider-Man is the big man, Spider-Man's like, you know what, Jameson might be the big man. I mean, I don't really like him that much, and maybe he is the guy. We will see. So Peter has the idea of claiming to everybody that he knows who the big man is in order for them to kidnap him, basically. And even Flash Thompson's like, what are you doing, you idiot? You're gonna get killed. The big man doesn't take any chances. The big man's a really fucking stupid name. He's like, we gotta capture that guy, because he knows who I am. So they put Peter in a jail cell right in their lair, and so he immediately becomes Spider-Man and escapes. So now Spider-Man has to fight off all these criminals in their hideout in order to get to the big man. Though it's pretty tough because around every corner there's another person for him to fight. There's quite a few criminals in this organization. Spider-Man uses his little spider signal, which is something he made up just to rip off Batman, to signal the police that there's crime going inside. The big man decides to escape, but Spider-Man chases after him. But yeah, he actually does escape, and Spider-Man can't find him, but he has a hunch that's Jameson, since he follows Jameson to the Daily Bugle, and so does the police. Was Spider-Man's hunch right? Was Jameson actually the big man? No, it was that guy, Frederick Foswell. You know, the guy who just introduced in this issue? He was the big man the whole time. Jameson is pissed off that his hunch of him not being Spider-Man also failed, and one of his employees was not him. He then cries like a little bitch, saying that the reason he doesn't like Spider-Man is that he does stuff selfishly while he is a selfish guy. So if he's a bad person, then he must be a bad person or something like that. I don't really know. While all this happening, Spider-Man is being angsty. He's like, I want to see Betty again, but she won't let me in. Next issue is Amazing Spider-Man number 11. While brooding in his room by himself, Spider-Man gets some of the worst news ever. It turns out that Dr. Octopus was released from prison. Spider-Man invents a new invention known as the little spider transistor or something like that. It's like basically a tracker that's a spider shape. Yes, Doc Ock got released from prison. He didn't have to escape because he did good behavior. Isn't that nice? And his car ride is now they're being driven by Betty. Huh? Spider-Man throws a little tracker on the car to follow where he's going. See, Doc Ock is going to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, because this guy named Blackie, that's his name, not joking, is trying to get freed from prison. And he has this guy, whose name is Bennett Brant, to get him out as a lawyer, but he kind of scammed him out of some money because of some other things. And yes, you couldn't tell he looks exactly like Peter, but he has blonde hair. He's also the brother you couldn't get tell of Betty. So Peter goes to Philadelphia to see Betty and to help her and her brother out. And he's like, I'm going to tell Betty that I'm Spider-Man after this is all done. So Doc Ock frees that one guy who was scamming everybody out of prison with his arm. And he goes along on his little big boat, and he traps Betty and her brother there for more espionage, I guess. Spider-Man also goes on the boat, but oops, he broke his ankle. Not joking, he sprained his ankle. What a dunce. Spider-Man fights Blackie here, and one of his stray bullets actually hits Bennett, and he dies. Quite literally dies. Our second death after Uncle Ben. Betty's upset, of course, and blames Spider-Man for his brother's death, just as Peter's luck. So most of the criminals have been knocked out, except for Dr. Octopus. He's only really interested in Spider-Man. He wants revenge on his humiliation from last time. Spider-Man then fights Doc Ock on a speedboat, where it actually crashed. And during the crash, Dr. Octopus gets away. So the day isn't really saved. Dr. Octopus is still at large, Spider-Man's ankle's broken, Betty's brother is dead, and Spider-Man can no longer reveal his true identity to the woman that he thinks he loves. Next issue is Amazing Spider-Man number 12. Back to New York, where Spider-Man goes, he sees the Daily Bugle is having struggles, and the new secretary that Jameson hired quit because he's basically an asshole. Betty comes back with a brand new haircut. Isn't that nice? Dr. Octopus also came back to New York, and he's been committing crimes up the wazoo. His hope is that Spider-Man will come to attack him again, because he really wants revenge on Spider-Man. Dr. Octopus attacks the Daily Bugle because he wants to kidnap Betty Brant, because he knows that Spider-Man tried to save her last time, so if he does it again, he can get Spider-Man to come attack him again. So he brings her to Coney Island, and Spider-Man has to save her. But uh-oh, he's feeling a little sick, and he's not up to his usual strength here. Peter tries to finish the fight early by knocking his jaw out, but he's so weak that he can't do much damage. This pisses off Doc Ock, who wants a real fight. And he's like, this guy ain't Spider-Man, it's just some dude named Peter Parker. And Jameson and the police and Betty are all like, what are you doing, you dumbass? He's a fool! So Peter has to rest up, because, he failed. And his subconscious basically says, you are really dumb. Back at school, Flash makes fun of Spider-Man there for trying to be a hero. But Liz actually starts to like Peter, says that he was actually something brave he did, and he calls out Flash on his bullshit. Of course, Dr. Octopus is really pissed off since he was apparently mocked by a teenager there. He wanted the real Spider-Man. He got some kid, basically, so he just goes on a rampage, including freeing a bunch of wild animals from the zoo. Of course, it's up to Spider-Man to get the zoo animals back where they belong, including this gorilla who's just on a ledge for some reason. Like, how did that gorilla get up there? So Spider-Man once again attacks Dr. Octopus to put his end to his villainy, and this causes Jameson to get wet from a nearby water tower, which is really funny. After a long fight throughout New York, Doc Ock is finally taken in by his own vainness, basically, when a statue crumbles on top of him. So Doc Ock was saved from the burning building, and he's disappointed that he lost again, this time to his own his own incompetence. And Liz is like, I actually want to go on a date with you, Peter. Peter's like, I'm actually into Betty, so sorry, Liz. The next issue is Amazing Spider-Man number 13. Spider-Man's been acting out of character pretty lately. He's been robbing banks and such. Like, what's going on? This, of course, makes Jameson happy, appearing that Spider-Man is once again a criminal. Though this freaks out Peter, because he doesn't remember doing any of this, thinking that he has developed a sort of a split personality that does stuff at night. He decides to go to a therapist for a little bit, then he's like, wait, he'll reveal my secret identity, so nope. So Peter's not doing too well, thinking that he's going insane, and kind of blows off Betty, and tries to ask for a loan from Jameson, but Jameson's like, nah. Spider-Man's like, maybe I can catch a crime yet, get some crime photos, but then people start riding against him, thinking that he's a criminal. And Liz once again tries to hit on Peter, but Peter's like, I'm still into Betty. Meanwhile, in the Daily Bugle, another criminal comes in. Well, this time, people don't know he's a criminal yet. This is Mysterio. He's like, I can defeat Spider-Man for you. Just send him here. So Spider-Man goes on top of the Brooklyn Bridge to fight Mysterio. But Mysterio is very mysterious, and he has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. He is hard to hit from his little smoke and stuff, and he can just dissolve Spider-Man's webs with just the touch of his hand. Mysterio is actually proven to be too much for Spider-Man, and Spider-Man quits the fight. Mysterio is now seen as a hero as he parades around town in his goofy costume. Everyone seems to think Mysterio's great, except for Flash Thompson, who thinks that Spider-Man is still way better and that he's been framed. One of the people that is really happy about Mysterio is Jameson, who says that Mysterio is a true hero, unlike Spider-Man. Peter actually shakes hands with Mysterio, or he actually puts a tracking device on him to see what he's really up to. Also, Betty starts to become jealous of Peter, while him leaving all the time, thinking that she's cheating on him with another woman. So Spider-Man finds Mysterio, and he's still too much of a fight, but he learns that, watching him, that Mysterio has a bit of an ego. So he gets Mysterio to reveal his whole backstory. You see, Mysterio was a guy named Quentin Beck, who was a film spec department and stuntman, to be exact. And he wanted to be a hero, and he decided that he needs more money, so he decided to frame Spider-Man by copying all his movements, and then basically changing into a new costume as Mysterio that no one will know it's him. And yeah, basically that means that he'll get money and fame. But Spider-Man's been recording him the whole time, proving that his innocence and Mysterio's villainy. And since he was an idiot to reveal all his secrets, Spider-Man now knows all his gadgets and what they do and how to defeat them. And Spider-Man and Mysterio fight on an ongoing film set, which has a scroll there, it looks like. And yes, Spider-Man defeats Mysterio using his spider sense to track him. Of course, Jameson's upset because he once again thought that Spider-Man was a villain, and once again it was proven wrong. But hey, he's got some new photos to put in his magazine. Peter says Spider-Man goes to the Daily Bugle, basically say, Jameson, I'm tired of you framing me all the time, so I'm going to web you up. The next issue is The Amazing Spider-Man number 14. So we see the first appearance of the Green Goblin, who we do not know his secret identity yet. He's got a little broomstick here, and he decides that for some reason he wants to attack Spider-Man. So he hires the Enforcers, who just got released from prison. If they got released or escaped, I'm not too sure. And he gets a director or a movie exec to get on this deal of making a movie starring Spider-Man and the Enforcers. And this will make a lot of money. Back in high school, it turns out that Liz has no interest in Flash Thompson anymore. And doesn't care for his bronze. I guess she got tired of it. And she keeps trying to hit on Peter. But once again, Peter is not too interested in her because he's still trying to get with Betty. Spider-Man meets the Green Goblin for the first time. And the Green Goblin's like, I don't want to fight you, pal. I just want you to join my movie deal. And he's like, okay, I can make some money with this. So Spider-Man signs a contract with a movie director. This is a really weird first appearance of Green Goblin, I'll just say that. So Peter Parker tells everybody in the Daily Bugle that he's going to the West to pick pictures of Spider-Man in his new movie. And James is like, yeah, sure, get some pictures while you're at it. So Spider-Man and his new filming partners go to New Mexico to film a scene. They're like, how about we go to the desert to film out here, Spider-Man? He's like, okay. And then Spider-Man's like, wait, you guys aren't actors, you're the real enforcers! So they try to beat up Spider-Man, but they're really out. I guess Spider-Man's out of his element too, because he has no thing to swing on, but at the same time, the visuals kind of suck too, So they eventually lead him to a cave, which I guess is near where they're filming, and they push a boulder to block the entrance here. This is actually a really bad idea for them, because Spider-Man can use the dark and the fact there's walls up above to capture the enforcers one by one. But the Green Goblin's a little harder to capture since he can fly around and uses gadgets against Spider-Man. But by throwing all these gadgets, he awakens the Hulk! Yeah, the Hulk's here! And he's trying to fight everybody too, because the Hulk always wants to fight. Spider-Man quickly realizes that the Hulk is really strong, and he basically has no hope against fighting him. But then he's like, wait a second, what if I use him to break me out of here? So Spider-Man has the Hulk break that boulder that was trapping him, and he escapes. Though Spider-Man tries to capture onto the Green Goblin to reveal his true identity, but Green Goblin's a little tricky for him, and he drops him in a pool. So Spider-Man traps the Enforcers, the Hulk runs away, and the Green Goblin is nowhere to be found. Also, the movie director's like, screw this movie, I want to make a movie about the Hulk I saw. That'll make a better movie than Spider-Man. Spider-Man's like, well, screw you. And the guy's like, well, at least I'll pay for your expenses of flying here. It's like, you suck. So Peter is on the busway home saying, well, this kind of stinks. I can't even get to where that Green Goblin guy is anyway. Green Goblin goes back home saying, well, I failed, but next time I'll get Spider-Man. And we still don't know who he is, and maybe we won't ever see who the Green Goblin really is. Next issue is Amazing Spider-Man number 15. Spider-Man is once again catching criminals in his web. One escapes. He escapes pretty craftily because he is not just an ordinary criminal. He's Spider-Man's old foe, the Chameleon. The Chameleon's like, man, I can't deal with Spider-Man. I'm not really strong, and I don't want to hide forever. And he thinks, oh, I know somebody, Kraven the Hunter. He should take care of Spider-Man. It's also not revealed, but later on they reveal that Kraven and Chameleon are brothers. Just to let you guys know. So Kraven the Hunter comes all the way to New York to see if he can stop Spider-Man as the next great hunt. He even brought some wild beasts along. Jameson gets really excited about Kraven, saying, you can defeat Spider-Man, right? And he's like, yeah. Also, there's love triangle drama as Betty and Liz don't like each other because they both want Peter's affection, and Peter's like, man, women are so hard to deal with. So Chameleon gives a bunch of information to Kraven on how Spider-Man works, and Kraven's like, I should be easily able to defeat Spider-Man with my little potion I take all the time to make myself stronger. And Kraven has some criminals fight Spider-Man, and he watches from distance to study Spider-Man's every move to learn how he fights. Though Spider-Man notices Kraven, and is like, hey, I'm gonna fight you. But Kraven, learning Spider-Man's tricks, it actually pretty easily counteracts Spider-Man. And even hits Spider-Man with a little dart there that makes him all dizzy and woozy. Peter wants to be with Betty, but Betty's like, yeah, I don't want to be because you're with Liz. He's like, I'm not with Liz, and, weird drama like that. So Spider-Man has to fight Kraven again, but his hands are shaking from the thing that Kraven hit him with. Still, his arms are so shaking that he can't even shoot a nice strong web. Spider-Man sees Kraven walking around normally at night. Like, what's he doing out there at night? He follows him, but that's not Kraven. Kraven's behind him. So Kraven shoots a net at him, and Spider-Man breaks it in 3 seconds, according to the description, apparently. So yeah, the other Kraven is beating on a drum, while this one Kraven puts wrist bracelets on him to make his arms and legs go together, little traps and tricks. The Spider-Man uses his own gadgets to stop the weird mechanism from trapping his arm and legs. Of course, the one Kraven beating on the drums is just the Chameleon, and Spider-Man is able to defeat the other Kraven with a web trap of his own. Spider-Man takes pictures of the Chameleon and Kraven being deported since, they're illegals. So Peter wants to go on a date with Betty, but he can't because he had plans with Aunt May, basically. Aunt May has his friend who has a niece that Aunt May wants Peter to see because she thinks they'll get together. And her name is Mary Jane, just to let you know. So there's a little hint to what it is. It turns out that they can't do it because of some weird thing about headache and something like that. So he's like, hey, I can go do it with Betty, but Betty's like, no. And Peter's like, oh, this sucks. Meanwhile, Kraven and Chameleon are getting deported, and Kraven's like, the hunt isn't over. I will get Spider-Man. No beast will ever defeat me. And Spider-Man's like, well, that sucks. The next issue is Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1. Well, it seems Doc Ock's days of criminality are over since they removed his arms. But they didn't stop his mental link, so basically, it kind of helped him out because now he can use them remotely anytime he wants. Also, while Spider-Man's reading a newspaper, the Thor rushes by. There's a bunch of Marvel characters in this comic that just kind of make cameos, like Thor being a jackass Spider-Man here for no reason. Anyway, Dr. Octopus has a new plan for Spider-Man. This time, he got some of Spider-Man's old foes to fight him again. That includes here Kraven, Electro, and Mysterio. I guess Kraven got off that boat pretty quickly, huh? Flash wants to fight Peter for hitting on his quote-unquote girlfriend, Liz. Peter's like, I don't want to fight you. And he says, I don't want to fight me neither. But then Doctor Strange comes along and is like, huh, what is he doing there? And that's about it. Spider-Man then tracks this guy, who then slips through his fingers, because it turns out that guy was the Sandman. Anyway, Spider-Man's like, my life kind of sucks. And he sees Aunt May crying around Uncle Ben, and he's like, man, I don't even know why I even do this in the first place. My life kind of sucks ass. After thinking about the fact that he basically let his Uncle Ben died, Peter starts to lose his powers of being Spider-Man. The Fantastic Four see him struggling and like, what's he doing there? What a loser. Seeing as his powers are starting to go away, Peter's like, well, I guess maybe I can live a normal life now. No more Spider-Man. So now Dr. Octopus' team now has the Sandman and the Vulture. They're like, we can defeat Spider-Man if we all work together. But, these guys have giant egos, remember, and they want to be the one that defeats Spider-Man, so they can't work together. So Dr. Octopus is like, well, here's what we're going to do. You pull out this little bag, and we'll see which order we fight Spider-Man in. And that way, whoever beats him first can be the one that defeats Spider-Man. How about that? So Spider-Man decides not to go to school that day, because I guess he's just kind of depressed over that, and that concerns his classmates and his Aunt May. There's also Giant Man and Wasp, who Peter's like, screw that. Aunt May goes to Daily Bugle to see if Peter's there, and meets Betty Brant, who gets kidnapped immediately, both of them, by the Sinister Six, as they're now called. Well, Betty is scared. Aunt May isn't, because she thinks that Dr. Octopus is a gentleman. So the Vulture delivers a message to Jameson to basically say, we've got these people, and Spider-Man has to fight us. And he's like, how do I get advantage of Spider-Man? And he's like, well, use your imagination. So Jameson does. So he calls the Fantastic Four, who call Captain America, who call the X-Men, and all that other stuff to basically say, where is Spider-Man? Well, since Peter already knows what's going on, he's like, well, even though I don't have my spider powers anymore, I guess I gotta fight. The first person he has to fight is Electro. Though during the few lightning bolts thrown at him, Spider-Man's like, wait a second, I think I have my spider powers back. And he quite easily defeats Electro. Spider-Man grabs the note that Electro has and basically says, I guess it's the next stop. After he leaves, he's like, hey, look, there's Iron Man. Iron Man's like, hey, what are you doing to my building? Because this is my building. Well, at the time, people don't know he's Tony Stark. If you don't know in the comics, Iron Man has a secret identity. But that changes later on, but whatever. His note leads him to Kraven, who he also defeats pretty easily. Well, he doesn't defeat Kraven, he just kind of just like goes in his belt and pulls out the note for the next location. And he's like, bye! And while he's on the way, Human Torch is like, hey, you want some help, Spider-Man? And Spider-Man's like, screw you, I don't need your help. Meanwhile, Dr. Octopus attends to his hostages by giving them cookies and coffee. Or is it tea? Yes, it's coffee, never mind. And Ant-Man's like, wow, what a nice man. On his next stop, Spider-Man finds the X-Men, and they start to attack him. Like, hey, you dudes, I didn't do anything to you guys. Then he realizes quickly that these guys are robots. Robots designed now there by Mysterio. And once Spider-Man figures that out, he punches him in his bullface head, and he gets defeated. But his note got burned a little bit, but using his web, he's able to detect that the note says to go fight Sandman. Though Sandman decides that he's going to set a trap up for Spider-Man by trapping him in his iron prison. But it was actually kind of a bad idea because the prison is so airtight that he can't breathe because he's not that smart. Keep in mind, he never graduated high school, so I guess that makes sense. On his last stop for Dr. Octopus, he has to fight the Vulture, and Vulture's like, I'll fly away unless you get rid of your webbing so we can fight one-on-one about your webs. Like, Spider-Man's like, okay. But, yeah, the Vulture kind of sucks. It's pre-established, so Spider-Man's easily able to defeat him. So he finds Dr. Octopus and tries to fight him in his hideout, but like I said, his arms are now detached and they can fight on their own free will. Doc Ock's like, hey, so my name is Dr. Octopus, I might as well fight you in a water bowl. I don't know what the logic there is, but hey, at least Spider-Man's going to drown because he doesn't have an air mask. Even though this doesn't seem like a bad idea, Spider-Man's webs are really broken underwater and they're able to trap Dr. Octopus really easily, oddly enough. Spider-Man saves Betty Brant and Aunt May, but Aunt May's like, this man is scary. He's not like Dr. Octopus. I like him better. So Aunt May and Betty Brant are free, and Spider-Man's like, hey, let's go out on the town and hang out. Meanwhile, the villains are all given the same cell for some reason. Shouldn't Kraven be deported? He was deported last time. Oh well. Yeah, and they learn a valuable lesson. We should work together rather than work separately. We then get a gallery of Spider-Man's old villains, because this is pretty neat. So we get to see the Burglar, the Chameleon, the Vulture, the Terrible Tinkerer, Dr. Octopus, Sandman, Dr. Doom, who did not first appear in Spider-Man number 5. He first appeared in Fantastic Four number 5. Get it right. The Lizard, the Living Brain, Electro, the Enforcers, Mysterio, the Green Goblin, and Kraven the Hunter. This is pretty neat little back stuff, because in the back issue we get to see how strong Spider-Man is compared to other Marvel heroes, how his powers work, so the kid in the 60s will definitely have a field day of all this knowledge. We also get to see all the stuff Spider-Man can use his webs on, stuff that he'll probably never use ever. When will he use a raft? I don't know. And the final part of the story is a kind of a comedic version of how Spider-Man's story is created. Basically, Stan Lee does nothing and Steve Ditko does all the work. I'm not joking, that's basically what it says. The next issue is Amazing Spider-Man number 16. Spider-Man fights criminals around this blind guy, but he doesn't expect that blind guy is none other than Daredevil. And Daredevil wears a goofy yellow costume as point. His cane is what he uses to traverse around, which looks kind of goofy, but whatever. This is basically just an advertisement for Daredevil, which was basically a brand new character at the time. It also reintroduces this guy. He's the Ringmaster, and he debuted in a Hulk issue like a while ago. His plan is to set up a little act that make people want to go to the circus by throwing Spider-Man there. And then he's not planning on having Spider-Man there, but Spider-Man's like, it's for charity, you might as well go. Also, Betty cries because Spider-Man's going to the circus. Well, Peter's going to the circus without her, and she thinks he's cheating on him with Liz Allen. Meanwhile, Matt Murdock, who's the real name of Daredevil, is like, you know what, I should go to the circus just to see Spider-Man, because I think he's pretty neat. He also figured out that Spider-Man's a teenager, based off his breathing, I guess. So Spider-Man gives the crowd a show, and there's all these acrobatics and stuff for everybody. But the Ringmaster, who's the main guy, hypnotizes everybody, including Spider-Man, and he basically is going to rob everybody, you know. This is a site-based thing, so it doesn't affect Matt Murdock, who decides he's going to become Daredevil to fight the Ringmaster. But since the Ringmaster has Spider-Man under his control, he uses him to fight against Daredevil. So they have a little bit of a fun fight where they fly around the circus, but, Daredevil gets his hat, and it's like, Spider-Man, you're going back to normal. Spider-Man's like, hey, you're pretty cool, thanks for helping me out. Daredevil's like, yeah, well, I gotta go back to the stands, and, well, you don't know that, but I'm going back. Have fun. Quickly, he's like, you know what, I'll let Spider-Man do all the work, I'll just go back to my civilian duties, while Spider-Man fights all these guys. Spider-Man fights the crime of circus, I guess, what they're called, and they really aren't tough, because they're just guys who are circus people. Like, what do you expect? This guy who's basically a cannonball is like, I'll shoot myself at Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's like, well, what do you expect? I'm not going to let you hit me. So the ringmaster's like, maybe I can hypnotize Spider-Man again. Then Spider-Man closes his eyes while he fights, basically, but we can't see it. He just says, I'm closing my eyes, bitch. And he defeats him. So Spider-Man unhypnotizes the audience, and no one gets robbed, and the circus dies. The last issue for this storyline is Amazing Spider-Man number 17. The Green Goblin has been practicing on fighting Spider-Man dummies to fight the real deal. He upgraded his shitty broom to a actual Goblin glider. Meanwhile, Flash Thompson's setting up a Spider-Man fan club, and everyone's invited, except for Peter, but Liz is like, you'll have to invite Peter, because it's going to be at my dad's club, so Meanwhile, Spider-Man's like, hey, there's criminals out there, gotta stop. But it turns out it was just a movie set, and everyone makes fun of Spider-Man for ruining a movie set. But of course, this cracks up Jameson, who's like, ha ha ha, what an idiot. So Peter's walking Betty down the street back to her house, trying to, get back on her good side. Then Liz Allen confronts him, and she gets really upset that Liz is in front of her. And of course, Flash Thompson's mad because he wants Liz and he doesn't like Peter. Peter doesn't know what to do because he doesn't know if he wants to show up as Peter to help out the Daily Bugle, take pictures, or show up as Spider-Man to, showcase his support for the community. Meanwhile, another crime's going on, but the Human Torch stops it before Spider-Man can. And Peter's jealous of how much people like the Human Torch, but despise Spider-Man. Also, Aunt May tries to set up Spider-Man on a date with her friend's niece, basically. But Spider-Man's only interested in Betty Brant. He doesn't want to do it, and he claims that he's going to a thing, and that she can't go, or something like that. So anyway, that's about it. So Spider-Man goes to the fan club just to say, hey, everybody, appreciate you all. And the Green Goblin interrupts and is like, I'm going to fight you now, Spider-Man, you're going to lose. Though during the fight, Peter hears Liz have a suspicion that P might be related to Spider-Man since they're never around at the same time. So he's like, oh crap, I gotta go back as Peter just to save my secret identity. There's also guys trying to commit crime above for some reason, so that the Human Torch is in the audience is like, I'm gonna fight them, but he gets in the way of Spider-Man's web, and people either think Spider-Man's an idiot or that Human Torch is an idiot. During all this, he becomes Peter to say, hey, I'm actually not Spider-Man, I'm not. This upsets Betty, who sees him like, oh no, he's cheating on me with Liz. And she cries and mopes and dopes. Then he goes back to being Spider-Man and fights all this action. There's a lot of stuff going on, including the fact that there's a phone call for Peter about his Aunt May being in the hospital. So Spider-Man runs around away, and people are like, how could he? What an idiot. Human Torch's like, huh? How could he ditch me? And Green Goblin's like, I don't want to fight Human Torch, I want to fight Spider-Man. So everybody's like, we don't want to be part of Spider-Man fan club, he's a loser. Everything gets happy because he writes an editorial about Spider-Man being a coward. And everybody but Flash Thompson still believes in Spider-Man. M.A.'s in the hospital, Peter's there, everyone's making fun of Spider-Man, he throws his costume and cries. Nothing can go right for Spider-Man, especially since the Green Goblin got away. And that is the end of the first epic great collection of Spider-Man stories. And yeah, if you like this, leave a like and I'll do more, or something like that. This took a while to make and to read. I read this multiple times, but at the same time, it took a while to do. So thank you for watching. More Spider-Man will be coming if you like it. I had fun doing this. And yeah.